Corporal Christopher Farias, ChristopherFarias.
Okay. And what unit are you with?
I'm now with 11th Marines Artillery Training School.
Okay. And what do you do at 11th Marines?
Well, now with 11th Marines, I'm an instructor for the Artillery Training School. I teach Second Chief course, Basic Weapons Instructor course for machine guns, Battery Supervisors course, and Second Chiefs for 120 mortars.
Okay. All right. And where are you from in the world?
I'm from LaPorte, Texas. It's in Houston, Texas.
How do you spell that place?
LaPorte, L-A space P-O-R-T-E.
Okay, there is an E at the end.
Yeah.
LaPorte. It's like a French name. Okay, the door really is what it means.
Right now, where I'm at, it's two areas right now are debating where the actual birthplace of Texas was, because where we had the Battle of Central Sentinel was like right there. So these two areas are fighting over just to see who actually is the birthplace of Texas.
That's pretty cool. And you were saying earlier that you're from a pretty large family. You have a lot of brothers and sisters.
Yes, I do.
Okay. All right. What high school did you go to?
I went to LaPorte High School.
Okay. Kind of self-explanatory.
Yeah.
Now, did you join the Marine Corps right after high school, or did you work for a while to go to college?
How I did it was I wanted to join as soon as possible, so I joined at 17.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Wow.
I pretty much threatened my parents, saying it's either you sign the paper now to let me get ready for it, or just wait till I turn 18 and I go anyway.
All right. And now you've been in for almost 8 years, you were saying?
Just
Okay. All right. So, how's the Marine Corps been for you?
It's been quite an experience. I've done so many things I never thought I'd actually do being in the Marine Corps.
Such as?
My first deployment in Okinawa was pretty fun. It wasn't a combat deployment, but to actually understand like camaraderie and the brotherhood that comes with it, and just actually the experience getting to be somewhere in another country with a whole bunch of Marines was something I never thought would be such a great experience for me, and I guess you could say a learning and growing up experience to be out on my own.
So you're artillery at the time as well? You've been artillery the whole time?
My whole career.
In 08. Okay, all right. So you had a really good experience, a really good growing experience in Japan when you were in Okinawa, you were saying. Okay.
Yes.
Basically this week, it's a pretty busy week. It's a pretty big week for you.
Very interesting.
And I'm sure you've done a couple of interviews before, and we talked about that. And this is your story. This is you telling it the way that you saw it, the way that you see things. And I just want to revisit. I have a copy of your citation or your summary of action, and I've read through it a couple of times. And I'd like, if it's okay, I'd like to kind of sit with you and discuss some of those points, and maybe have you describe some things for me, if it's okay.
That's fine.
Okay. All right. You originally recommended for Silver Star, and they upgraded it to a Navy Cross, which is substantial. Let's go back to the Kajaki district, or let's back up even before that. When did you go to Afghanistan in that deployment? When did you leave the U.S.?
We left May 7th, I'd say May 7th of 2010.
Okay. And what was your role? What unit were you with, and what were you doing? What were you supposed to be doing at that time?
I was with 312 India Battery at the time, and at the time when we were getting ready to go to Afghanistan, we had no idea what our mission was whatsoever. We had rumors, we got told a whole bunch of different stuff, convoys, just artillery, security for a fob or something, but we had no idea what we were going to do.
And so you got on the ground, and when did you find out what it is that you were supposed to do? What did they describe to you your mission was going to be?
It was 2 weeks into the deployment, and we were all just sitting around, and we got told by our CO, Captain Stinnett, that he wanted to have a word with the whole battery, and that's when we ended up finding out where we were going, and we ended up finding out what exactly we were doing and who we were leaving. So it was a pretty big shock.
What did he tell you?
He came out and told us that we were going to the Kajaki Dam, and we're like, okay, we're gonna go to a dam. But he said, just to let you guys know, it's not exactly what you think. We're gonna go protect the dam, but we're also gonna be doing foot patrols, and we're relieving the Royal Army, Royal Marines there. And so we're thinking, okay, if they're there, this is probably something that we've never done before in our career. And when he told us exactly how that area is, I mean, to find out that we're surrounded in 3 different areas by Taliban fighters, that's telling me that we're definitely on our own on this one.
All right. So that was your first thought tactically, as far as I was concerned. What were you thinking privately? What were you thinking internally?
Internally, I was honestly excited because I've always, every time I've done a combat deployment, I've done infantry. When I went to Iraq, I did infantry. I did patrols. That's what I was good at, and I loved it. So, I mean, that's what I trained my Marines on, was patrols, because I was like, we can do convoys all you want, but if you don't know how to do a patrol, how to handle an ambush, or just how to handle any kind of firing maneuver, what good are you going to be? So that's what we constantly trained for before we left. And then to find out that's exactly what we're going to do, it made me really excited and really happy, because they had that training. We practiced it over and over. So I was at least happy about that.
So you had the confidence of knowing that the Marines that you were going with, that you were going to Kajaki with, at the Kajaki Dam, were Marines that you had worked closely with and that they were well trained.
Oh yes, they were troublemakers just like me. I mean, they'd never been on a deployment. They'd never been on a combat deployment. The only thing they've ever done was a MEU, and so they never had any kind of that experience. So they didn't have any kind of confidence in themselves when I first got there. But whenever I got there and started training them on it, they showed me something that I've never seen before in a battery. They showed me something like they've had that experience, like they've done it before. They have that confidence, like there was no fear in them. They were excited as well. So that's what made me so confident that we could definitely do this.
So you moved up to Kajaki Dam District. What was that like when you relieved the Brits?
Man, when we got there, and just to even work with them was an experience. But to relieve them and then to find out that you are the farthest unit north of anybody, kind of makes you rethink. It's hard to say. Kind of rethink on how you're going to handle the situation now. Because to actually learn everything I'm supposed to learn from them to handle that area and the situation, how the Taliban are there, but then to have them gone, and now you're on your own, now you have to adapt and overcome, and to actually now, I guess you could say, live that in an area with guys and an enemy you've never seen before. It's because when we got there, that's all they ever saw was the British. They'd never seen an American force. So it was kind of like how my CO put it, a chess game. Because now you're going to do something, and guess what? They're going to learn from that and hit you and adjust to that, and it's going to be a constant chess game. You're adjusting. So it's like you don't know what to expect now at all. Every day is going to be something new.
So what did you learn from the Brits?
What I learned from the Brits was how crazy they were. Oh man, those guys were so crazy. I mean, the first firefight I got to there with them, I mean, to have somebody tell me the best way to pick a fight is to get on the roof and just walk back and forth to it until they shoot at you. I was like, that's a good tactic, but there's no way I'm doing that. But a lot of things that I learned, I mean, to actually how to spot pressure plates, to how to see how they're maneuvering in areas. Like what are they trying to do to get us to go certain ways, and like how they treat the people out there to get information from them about us. It's pretty insane.
So when exactly did you get to Kajaki Dam? You showed up in country in about May, and at what point did you transition up north?
I got to Kajaki Dam around June 2nd or 3rd, I think. And on the same day, that's when one of my good friends got shot.
Okay. And how much time did you have with the British in that respect?
About a couple weeks to a month. We had relations with them.
So basically, by the time July hit, you guys are in control of that area.
I'd say about pretty much it was just a couple weeks of working with them, but then it was them transitioning to get out, and it was mainly us.
Now, in October, and we're going to move forward now to October 5th in 2010. You were serving as an assistant squad leader in while participating in a 3-day patrol-based operation in Kajaki region, right?
Yes.
Okay. What happened on that day?
Well, for starters, it was a patrol I really wasn't supposed to have any part of. I requested to go on it because one of my closest friends, Sergeant Segura, he was the squad leader. I was a squad leader for second platoon, and I requested to go with them on their patrol because I wanted to just get more patrols in. I just love doing it. I like going out there. So I requested to go, and he asked for me to go. And so as we were going out there with him, the first thing when we prepped to get ready to go, what we both felt was we knew something. We just had that strange feeling that something bad was going to happen. It just didn't feel right that day. And it's crazy because ever since we got there, anytime anybody had a bad feeling about something bad's gonna happen to them, it happened. It's kind of like a weird curse. Like ever since we got there, anytime somebody had that feeling, it happened. Just like my friend when I first got to Kajaki, that day he said he felt something bad was gonna happen, and he didn't give it a shot.
No, was he killed or did he survive?
Oh no, he survived. He got shot in the leg. I think it shattered his femur in his leg, and he survived.
Okay. Is he still in the Marine Corps, or is he?
He's out now. He's
medically retired.
I don't think he's medically retired, but right now he's going to school.
Okay. So back on October 5th, so you guys are having that strange feeling that things were not right, but yet you got to go out and you got to do this job, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, what was the mission that day that you were going out on? What was the objective?
Our objective was to relieve a squad that was already out there, to give them their break, and our objective was to set up a night ambush for the Taliban maneuvering in the green zone. So what we were trying to do is decide, okay, where exactly are we going to do this and how are we going to do this? So with my friend Segura, we were trying to figure out, okay, so should we maneuver during dusk, or should we maneuver when the sun's still out and just wait, or should we maneuver during the night? I mean, it was a little bit of debate. We decided, hey, let's not rush into this. Let's just keep talking about it until we get out there, because we'll have some time to figure out, okay, how exactly we're going to do this. Let's get with the other squad. Let's see maybe where they want to position themselves, and we'll decide where we're going to position ourselves from there, so we can make this ambush actually work really good, because we shouldn't plan anything right then and there with both squads already out and we're trying to maneuver in there. So it's like, let's just wait and get out there, and then we'll make a decision.
Okay, what happened after that?
We started heading out there, and as we're heading out there, we're getting word that Taliban fighters are telling everybody in that area to leave. And usually when that happens, sometimes that nothing ever happened at all. They just left. But as we were moving out there, we noticed there was nobody there, which was kind of strange. So we should have seen all the signs that they were planning something, but it was like, well, there's occasional days where we never saw anybody, so it's like, let's not think anything of it. Let's not try to rush into things. So we're maneuvering through the green zone, and we're like, wow, there really is nobody here. And we're getting reports that the Taliban are moving a special weapon for us, and they're calling in for, I guess you could say, more support. So we've always gotten intel about that before, and nothing's happened, so we don't think anything of it. I mean, we're not trying to say we're being cocky or anything or just like that. It's just we've gotten reports about that before, so let's not think anything of it to where we make a harsh decision and end up maybe hitting an IED because of it. So let's just keep our focus on the mission, which is to get to the patrol base right now. So got there, and that's when as soon as we got there, we just started talking like right off the back, okay, hey, where's the other squad at? You know, what are they doing? Hey, like, just trying to get all the Marines relaxed. Squad leaders get together, assistant squad leaders, and let's start planning on how we're going to do this.
Now, at this point, you were in the patrol base, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And you had already relieved the other squad?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you're just getting settled in at this point?
Yes.
Okay. So at what happened after that? I know there was a 73 millimeter recoilless rifle that was used against you guys. How did you get to that point? What transpired?
We had before that we had a good couple hours, and that's when we planned. At that time, one of the squads went ahead and decided to take off, so they take off to go set up. So as they were doing that, my friend Segura asked me, he's like, hey, do you think we should leave within the next 15, 20 minutes or maybe half an hour after them? I was like, let's look at the time. Let's give them more time to set up in position. And once they say that, hey, this is a perfect spot, let's maneuver over there and we'll go set up. I was like, we don't want to rush out there and like have them see that 2 squads are out there moving. Let's give it some time. And so he said, okay, you know what, that's a good idea. Let's do that. So as that happened, that's when we kept getting more word that, okay, their special weapon is being sent. And so I guess around that time is when they were getting in position themselves. So sun was coming down, we were starting to prep, and that's when me and my friend were talking. There was about a good 8 of us talking around this tree, and we're just all talking, laughing, having a good time, just joking. And then that's when we hear an explosion. It sounds like an explosion. And we're still talking, laughing and joking about it. We even look at each other like, did you hear that? I'm like, yeah, I heard that too. I was like, well, maybe an IED went off. Maybe a goat stepped on an IED like always. I'm like, yeah, whatever. So we're just talking, laughing, and before we knew it, that's when they hit us.
With a 73 millimeter recoilless rifle?
Yes.
And then you were surrounded by machine gun fire afterwards?
Yes, well, at the time, I had no idea it was machine gun fire. At the time, I was knocked unconscious. I didn't even know I was wounded either. I had no idea what happened. I just remember seeing a flash and hearing an explosion, and that's when I was out.
So you heard a bang, you guys were smoking and joking, talking away, you heard an explosion, not realizing what it is, and then suddenly you were knocked unconscious.
Yes.
Okay, all right. What happened after that when you came to?
As finally when I came to and I started looking around, the first thing I'm seeing is the tree where I was standing, and I'm looking like, how the hell did I end up here? And I'm trying to think like, what just happened? And all I'm seeing is just a huge smoke cloud, and the tree's just blown to shit. I'm looking at it like, what just happened here? And I'm hearing people scream, and I'm hearing my fellow Marines scream, and I'm like, what happened here? And I'm hearing my lieutenant scream, I need a radio, need a radio, need a radio. And I'm like, okay, he doesn't have a radio, so obviously the first thing I do is I just say, okay, I'm just gonna go run and go get a radio. And as I'm running up to my pack, the first thing I'm seeing is just packs destroyed, just gear destroyed. And I'm seeing puddles of blood on the ground, and I'm thinking, what happened? And I'm looking around like, where's Segura? Where did he go? And I don't see anybody. I'm in the cloud of smoke. I grab my radio and I run, and as I'm running, I'm seeing my radio still intact, thank God. And I give it to my lieutenant on the roof. And as I give it to my lieutenant on the roof, he's looking at me like, something's wrong with me. I'm looking at him like, what, sir? I'm fine. I'm fine, sir. Like, why are you looking at me like that? And I hand him the radio, and as soon as I hand him the radio, I turn around just to look back to see what I'm gonna do, and then all of a sudden that's when I collapse.
It says here that the rounds of recoilless rifle wounded 6 Marines with fragmentation, 4 of which were critical to include the squad leader. Another 5 sustained concussions and fragmentation wounds. You were severely wounded with shrapnel to the neck, shoulder, and back, and you suffered from severe concussion and a broken clavicle bone. You directed the efforts of Marine triaging and treating the seriously wounded? Okay. Did you do that before you brought the radio or after?
This was after I brought the radio, because at that time when I collapsed, after I turned around to figure out what happened, that's when I started feeling like something's wrong with me.
Okay.
Because I ended up noticing that my shirt was nice and wet, and I was like, okay, that's not normal. And that's when I started noticing there's a puddle of blood in front of me, and that's when I was like, okay, there must be something wrong with me.
Okay. So how, and you realized that after you gave him the radio, and then at what point did you start triaging and treating seriously wounded?
After I ended up getting treated myself, because I was wondering why I was bleeding so much.
Now, at one point, you were directing Marines to move the severely wounded and cover inside the compound from enemy fire. As fire began to pour into the patrol base. Okay, tell me a little bit about that. What was that going on there?
After I ended up getting treated from one of my Marines that ran by, the first thing I'm doing is I'm telling him, all right, look, I'm hearing screaming, and I know we must have wounded because there's blood there. And like, look, what we need to do is get the wounded under cover and grab whoever is over here not doing a damn thing, grab them and take care of however many wounded we have right now. And that's when all the machine gun fire started happening. That's the first thing I finally was able to start hearing, because as he's talking to me, I can't really hear anything on my right ear at all. So he's trying to yell at me, and I'm barely hearing him through my left. I really couldn't understand what he's saying. The only thing I ever understood what he was saying is like, hey, you're fine. You're fine. So that's all I heard. So he's telling me I'm fine then, whatever. Must be a small cut or something. So that's when I'm telling him about our wounded. We need to take care of that. But when I heard that machine gun fire, that instinct in me just kicked in. It's like, okay, that I need to get up on the roof. I need to see what's going on.
Okay, so what happened when you got up on the roof?
As I got on the roof, I ended up seeing I saw a few Marines. It was just a machine gun team that was up there, and that was it. There was nobody firing back. We had nobody firing back. They were already laying down as much machine gun fire on us as possible. So as I'm seeing the flashes, I see where they are. That's when I start directing the machine gun to start shooting, and that's when I'm starting to yell, I need more Marines on the roof.
Okay. And did you get those Marines?
I did end up getting Marines, but it was only pretty much 7 of us against however many were out there. And we just started, that's when I started directing, okay, you need to shoot here, you need to get over there in that part of the roof, start shooting over there. And we just started laying down fire.
So what happened with the patrol that was trying to come back in?
The patrol, that was one thing we tried to figure out. We were yelling, where is Sergeant Karn's patrol? Where are they? We need to know where they are. But the whole time we're trying to yell and figure this out, we're also trying to figure out who's wounded in the process and try to call in a Medevac bird. So the one thing I'm telling everybody is, okay, where all these muzzle flashes are in front of us, make sure your weapons are just orientated over there. Do not shoot anywhere to the west or east, because we do not know where Sergeant Karn's squad is. Just keep it orientated right in front of us. Don't fire anywhere else. Since we don't know where they are, we don't want to end up them end up in the crossfire.
At one point, you pulled out your M203 grenade launcher. Basically, it says here that you ignored your own dire situation and continued to expose himself to enemy fire in order to direct fires and engage enemy positions, and with your own M203 grenade launcher. You also directed an AT-4 rocket and shot at the enemy. What were you doing at that point? I mean, were you when you say they were exposing yourself to enemy fire, were you doing what the Brits told you to do, is just walk around on the roof, or
Oh no.
what exactly were you doing?
I stood up quite a few times to get a good view of where these flashes are, so I could start shooting my 203s, my 40 mics. So every time I stood up, I would just aim really quick, just try to angle it best I could, and just go ahead and just start lobbing as many rounds as I could. And I would see, okay, where are my machine guns shooting? Where are they hitting? So I'd follow their tracers, and it's like, okay, hey, you're hitting over here. You need to move more to the right. And I'm hearing one of my buddies, Corporal Schwartz. I yell at him, hey, do you have an AT-4? And he says, yes, I do. I'm like, well, what are you waiting for? Go ahead and shoot it. And so as he's prepping it up, we're just laying down as much fire as possible. And he was part of the machine gun team, so I tell them to stop shooting. Hey, go ahead and get that AT-4 ready, and they get it ready, and they just lob it out there. At one of the areas where we were getting shot at.
Now, at one point, you noticed that, so while this is all going on, and you're periodically standing up so you can see where your fires are going, at what point did you notice that there were 5 enemy Taliban coming in under the patrol base?
At a certain point, because I was running low on my 40 millimeter, and I was passing up my magazines. I had a scope, a thermal, to where I could actually see heat signatures, and I was trying to scan around to see if anybody was moving out there, and that's when I barely caught a glimpse in the tree line of somebody out there. And that's when I checked, and I could see 5 heat signatures moving through that tree line. And so that's when I yelled that's when the other squad ended up coming in, and I was able to get another machine gun on the roof. So when I positioned him over at the far end of the compound, I had him go ahead and orientate his gunfire into the tree line. But as I'm looking there, they're still moving, so he must have been missing him or something, or maybe he's just hitting too much of the trees, and I just started lobbing whatever 40 millimeters I had left into that tree line. And I looked through again, and there's nothing left after that. I didn't see any kind of movement at all.
Okay. Now, your position became the enemy of, obviously your position, you're firing all the time, so the enemy is returning fire on your position because you're attracting all their fire. Now, it says here that it allowed the remainder of the platoon to move 7 urgent casualties to emergency helicopter landing zone. So describe to me what was going on at that point. Were you aware that they were going to move the casualties out and that there was a helicopter coming in?
Yes.
Okay. So what did you do at that point, and what was going on?
At that point, when we got told we had a Medevac coming in, the first thing I thought was, okay, where are they setting it up at? And so they told me we were setting up, and I was like, okay, who's out there setting up? And they were like, well, Sergeant Carnes setting it up. I'm like, okay, good. Then that means he's going to pick a good spot then. It's like, Sergeant Carnes doesn't know what he's doing. So I'm like, okay, hey, whoever we have down there, just help them out, get these casualties out there. But when the Medevac was coming in, though, he was saying the LZ was just way too hot, and it was just way too close. So I'm yelling at my lieutenant, sir, you have the radio, tell Sergeant Carnes to push it back further. And so he's passing to Sergeant Carnes, push it back further, and they're trying to set up. So the whole time we're trying to still get that enemy fire orientated on us. I'm like, sir, we need the peaks to help us out, and start shooting the 50 cals to help us get more support, to have their fire directly at us and nowhere else, since the birds need to come in. And so we just kept doing that, but we were running low on ammunition, especially for the machine guns. And we're just yelling, hey, whoever's helping out with the casualties, whatever ammunition's down there, give us the casualties ammunitions and give us yours, whatever you can spare. And whatever Marines were left not helping casualties were running down there, grabbing ammunition, bringing it up to us. And so we're just passing it out and just trying to keep firing as best we could.
So in other words, you became the center of attention for your guys, yourself and your Marines became the center of attention for the Taliban's fire, so they'd leave the landing zone alone.
Yes, because they were trying to fire at the landing zone because they could see them prepping it up.
Okay. All right.
The only hard part was when they finally got it set up, the Medevac bird was starting to get shot at, and because we can see the Taliban's fire start moving towards the birds. And that's when I just said, just lay down whatever you got to get them orientated back on us, and thank God they actually did.
Because it saved lives.
That, and I knew it would have been even more hell if that bird would have got shot down.
You're saying that it would be even more hell. Are you describing it as hell? It was a hellish situation.
It was, because it was supposed to be an ambush for them, not us getting ambushed.
Okay. Now it says here the whole engagement ended after an air assault. Is that correct?
Yes.
An airstrike ended the engagement. So who called in the airstrike?
I'm not too sure who called in the airstrike at the time. I just know I just ended up getting told later on that we do have air coming in. The only problem was I wasn't given an exact time. If I was given an exact time, I didn't hear it. I was just like, it just needs to hurry the hell up and get over here. Because to be honest, it was really difficult to know how many Taliban fighters were out there. I just know we just kept getting shot at the whole time. And obviously, if they were trying to flank us, that means there must have been enough to overrun us. And that's something I did not want.
When it was all over, what happened? I know you were getting you were going to the ground evacuation site when it was all over. I guess you walked 2 kilometers on your own. You were still wounded at this point.
Yes.
Okay. And what was the severity of your wounds? What did you have wrong with you? I know we talked about it earlier.
From what everybody was telling me, I had shrapnel to the face, my neck. I had shrapnel on my collarbone, and it was broken a little bit. As we were walking back, that's when I started feeling every bit of pain possible. I ended up realizing my right arm would not move. I could not move it to save my life if I wanted to. If I did, I would end up being in so much pain. And I started feeling so drained of energy, and I just felt like I was going to end up blacking out because of all the blood I was losing. Because apparently during the whole fight, I had to have my gauze changed quite a few times for my neck because it was just constantly bleeding. And it was still bleeding the whole time on the way back. And I just felt so drained getting there.
When you got back and you were giving medical treatment, they flew you back where?
They flew me back to Bastion to
roll 3.
so I could and I guess I still had shrapnel inside me. I didn't know. Since I never knew what was wrong with me. I guess they were flying me back so I can get treated. And I ended up going through a surgery.
What was your reaction when you found out what was really going on as far as your wounds were concerned, and that you had just been through this hell? What did you think at that point?
The first thing I thought was I need to talk to my family, let them know I'm fine, because I wanted to be the first one to speak to them and let them know I'm fine, and not the Marine Corps, because I didn't know because I don't know how the Marine Corps was going to describe it. I wanted to make sure they heard my voice directly for them to know that I'm okay, I'm alive.
What was so let's back up a little bit. We went through the list of pretty much the events that took place when you were on that roof, and you kept on getting your bandages changed, and you knew you were bleeding, and you knew you were wounded. What was going through your mind? I know that you were focused on the mission, getting the job done, but what else was going through your mind at that point?
What was going through my mind was pretty much how is Segura, because he was my closest friend there. I mean, because before we left for Afghanistan, his wife asked me directly to promise to bring him home, and to go through all of that, not knowing what happened to him, was scaring the hell out of me.
What happened?
And because he was standing right in front of me, he took most of the blast, which I know if it wasn't for that, I probably wouldn't be here right now. But to see him now handicapped to where he had to have surgery on his back and shrapnel that was close to almost killing him, going pretty close to his heart, and having his arm blown off somewhat. To see that now, it's very difficult and painful, because I brought him home, but to me it's like I didn't keep my promise all the way I should have.
Because you didn't bring him home in one piece.
Yeah.
So you're still friends with him, obviously.
Yes.
Him and his wife.
Yes.
And when's the last time you talked to him?
Last week.
Where's he at?
Now he's with 511. He's trying to get back into some kind of physical shape. He's about to get medically discharged from the Marine Corps. So I mean, he will be taken care of for the rest of his life. The biggest thing I'm really glad though is he gets to be with his 2 daughters. Because I was there when his daughter Olivia was born.
You guys are best friends.
Yes.
How many tours did you do in Iraq?
I just did 1 tour.
One tour in Iraq.
Yeah.
And you were a provisional rifle team,
Mhm.
a rifle company. How did this? Obviously, it was a different situation in Iraq for you than it was in Afghanistan. But how did it compare in terms of the enemy on the ground?
A completely different type of enemy. These guys were tactically and strategically smart. These guys knew what they were doing. They were well trained. I mean, to have guys who can fight just like you, maneuver, like they know how to maneuver, they know how to set you up for a proper ambush. I mean, to fight an enemy like that, it's pretty insane. Because I mean, it's like if you're playing yourself in the mirror, it's obviously hard to beat yourself. But these guys were like that because they adjust to you, just like how you adjust to them. But if you're constantly adjusting to each other, it's like how are you gonna win?
Obviously, you didn't go back to Afghanistan after you were Medevac, after you were wounded. You came back home.
I ended up staying in Leatherneck. I was given the choice to go to Germany. I refused. I did not want to leave because I wanted an opportunity to go back to Kajaki. And so I was fighting as hard as I could to get that opportunity, but I ended up not being able to.
Why did you want to go back to Kajaki?
Because of all my Marines that were still there. Because just every time I ended up getting to talk to them, it still hurt because I just did not want to be away from them. Because after that night, I was just like, I don't want them to ever go through that again. I want to be there with them. I want to finish this deployment with them. I need to be there.
Okay. Obviously, that didn't materialize. How did you feel about that?
It hurt a little bit because I was constantly worried about them, wondering how they were doing. Are they okay? Because it ended up 2 weeks later, we ended up losing 2 Marines within 3 days.
You seem to have a really strong sense of that whole sense of team, that whole sense of almost, your military family. The military is your family, basically. Your fellow Marines are your family, basically, when you do these deployments. What do you attribute that to? That feeling of that devotion, or that feeling of that whole feeling of dedication to your fellow Marines. What do you attribute that to? Where'd you get that from?
It's kind of hard to say because, like, the way I've grown up is to take care of your family, to be a brother. I mean, because my younger brother, my family, they were going through a divorce, and my older brother was graduating high school, about to go through things on his own, so it was me and my younger brother, so I was pretty much taking care of him because my mother was always working. And it was kind of like that joining the Marine Corps. Now I'm on my own, but I got other guys now with me, and it's like they are my brothers. So it's like I need to take care of them. And actually, even getting promoted and getting put in certain billets, it's like now it's like, hey, I'm that older brother again, and now I got younger brothers to take care of. And it's like, especially whenever I was put in those positions, getting with Indian battery, and like now it's like how my Marines called it, I'm their daddy. So I'm their daddy now. I got to take care of my kids.
How did your family react when you spoke to them?
They ended up breaking down because all they knew was what I told them was that I just came out of surgery because I was just wounded. I told them I was fine. And so knowing them, they were freaking out, worried, and started crying. I didn't want that. I just trying to let them know that, hey, I'm fine. You don't need to worry about anything. I'm in a safe area.
So when you saw them again, and you communicated with them over time, I'm sure, but when you saw them again, and did you explain to them the extent of what took place and the extent of your injuries?
Um, how I ended up seeing it again was I surprised them both. I didn't let them know I was coming home. But to share what happened was difficult. I didn't really want to tell them when I first saw them. I told them I'll tell them later on through time. I did end up telling them, but to tell them, just see their faces as I was telling them about what happened, I didn't want to go any further than that. Like this is what happened to me, and I didn't want them to get that visual any more than they had to.
And you're talking like your mom and dad or your brothers and
My
sisters?
mom and my dad, brothers and sisters.
What'd your mom and dad say to you?
They really couldn't say much. It was just they looked like their heart was stopping, just like, wow, you just went through that.
Okay. What about your brothers, sisters?
The same thing is they're still in shock that happened to me.
Okay. And how did you do with the whole recovery process? Not just physically, but emotionally and psychologically.
It was very hard.
In what respect?
Physically, it was a little hard because the pain I was usually in. It was hard to get over that, and me, I love going to the gym, and that was really aggravating to me because I couldn't do it. I mean, telling me I can't go to the gym for a month, and as soon as that month hit, I was right back in there, but it was so difficult because of the pain I was feeling, and just some of the things I was still suffering from, like my face still going numb when I work out, and the nerve damage that I'm suffering, just the whole handshaking, it's like constant reminder and the flash in my eye. I just hate those constant reminders of what I went through. I hated it.
How'd you deal with it? What'd you do?
No. Went to my stress reliever, the gym. I would just go there and work out and just try to forget about it.
How is it today?
Still difficult to deal with because I hate constant reminders. And to still have, I mean, it's been over 2 years, or getting close to 2 years, and I still have the constant reminders. I have the nightmares still. The flash in my eye, it's still there, so every time I blink, I look at somebody, I still see it.
Do you think that'll ever go away?
I hope sometime it does. I don't. It's like I said before, I don't like the constant reminder. I hate the numbness in my face. I hate seeing the scar. I hate looking in the mirror every day and I see it. And I hate seeing my friends that survived that night. I still don't like seeing the scars on them. I don't like seeing their disability. Because we could have left when my buddy asked, but I made that call to stay there. And that's a good constant reminder saying that we could have avoided that if I just would have said, let's just leave now.
So are you saying you feel responsible for this?
I feel somewhat responsible, but it was a call that I believed was the best, but it's still a little difficult. I mean, there's always maybes that could have been thrown out there. I mean, maybe that wouldn't have happened. Maybe nobody would have got hurt if we would have left on time, but what if we did go out there and maybe it could have ended up being a whole lot worse? But I mean, it's just, even now, since that didn't happen, but it's now I have to see and go through what I'm going through now.
But you know that you made the best decision in the circumstances. You made the decision that you felt was right based on your training and what you were taught and what your values are as a Marine.
Yes.
You know that, right?
Yes.
So, this week on when did you find out that you were going to be receiving the Navy Cross?
I probably got told maybe about, it was in February when I got told by my Master Guns Bast. He just came in the office one day and said, hey, I need to see all the instructors. And we're like, oh, great, Master Guns is mad. Master Guns is mad, tells us what's going on, and this is not good because we don't like to see boss mad. So we went in there, and he comes looking like how he always looks, serious, just to mess with us. And then comes out, says, "Hey, February 18th, you're getting awarded the Navy Cross." Or I'm sorry, not February 18th, but your Navy Cross was approved. And I was just in shock, like, whoa. Like this has really happened.
Like what, Navy Cross?
Yeah, like.
Did they tell you that they were putting you in for it, or
I was.
did you just find out that, oh, by the way, it got upgraded?
I was told it was upgraded. I was told I was possibly gonna get it, but I was like, what I did was, to me, not a big deal. So what I did was just what I had to do. So I was like, why the hell do I need to get it? Why the hell am I gonna get a Navy Cross? For what? I was like, to me, it wasn't something that's significant. It's just doing what I had to do. So that's why when he told me that, I was like, it was just like a shock.
Okay, so basically, it has sunk in now, I assume,
Mhm.
to some degree. Do you, how do you feel about it now? I mean, it's going to happen in a couple of days, so.
I'm a bit nervous. I mean, as an instructor, I mean, I can. It's funny because I can teach Marines. I mean, I can do it. I can stand in front of them. I'll teach them all day. But it's like now, it's like to actually find out and hear that all these people are here for me and for my buddies, and pretty much, I don't. To me, I don't see it's actually for me. I see it that it's for India Battery. But for me to stand there to be the representation for India Battery for that award, it's like, it's really just like I said before, it's a shocker. It's a huge surprise.
You telling your mom and dad?
They'll be here.
What did they say?
They were like, wow, you're receiving an award for that? Like, you're really getting recognized? I'm like, yes, I'm getting recognized. And they're like, what is it exactly? And I told them it's Navy Cross, and it's right below the Medal of Honor. They were just in tears because they just couldn't believe that I'm getting put for something that's that high, that's substantial, and I'm getting recognized for an action.
Interesting. The, you know, we did an interview with the parents of a Lance Corporal Hogan in January. He was killed in action and received the Navy Cross posthumously, and they named a barracks after him in San Mateo at Fifth Marines. And I had the opportunity to interview his parents, and needless to say, it was a pretty emotional time. We did a setup just like this. It was a pretty emotional time, and Lance Corporal Hogan was, from what his parents are saying, he was his own guy. He did his own thing, and a real character, but very young, and paid the price, basically. And then the second half came out just like he's going to do on Friday for you, and awarded the Navy Cross posthumously. I think he's probably going to be a little bit happier this time around because you're still with us, so on and so forth. I don't know if you knew about the Navy Cross for Lance Corporal Hogan or not, that story or not.
I've read it before.
Okay, all right. I don't want this to sound like an unfair question, but basically, you know, people that have come before, even in recent months, you know, posthumously they died in action, awarded the same award that you're getting, and you're still alive. How does that? How do you reconcile those feelings? I mean, if you don't want to answer it, that's fine. I'm not trying to be unfair.
To be honest, I honestly don't have an answer for that one because, I mean, I've looked up the past recipients, and to see that some of them were killed, it's, part of me is like, what makes me so special to receive it? another part of me is like, I'm grateful to be alive, but it's still in my mind though, why should I receive it? It's like either way I look at it, it's like, to me, I just don't seem like I'm that special. The person that was killed who received it, on their actions that I've read, they definitely deserve it. They gave that personal sacrifice. They definitely deserve it. Me, for being alive, I don't see it, personally.
But you're the nation's newest hero. People will be looking up to you. You're still going to be you, though.
Yeah, just I've always told my Marines I'm a crazy bastard, and I've lived up to my reputation.
Now, this is just proof of it.
Yeah,
this is evidence to support that claim.
that's what everybody's been telling me, but I was like, it wouldn't have mattered if they gave me whatever. It wouldn't have mattered. It's like, hey, now y'all know that. Well, if y'all were there, and if you weren't there, y'all heard about it, and it's like, y'all know I'm crazy. But it's like,
obviously the events in Kajaki that we talked about, that's life changing. We live with this every day. We live with both the emotional scars and the physical impairments with it every day. How do you think all of this together, wrapped up into one package, how do you think this is going to affect you down the road?
To be honest, it's helped me grow big time, because when I got back, I was going through so many issues with that and other things, personal issues. It gave me a huge test to see what kind of man I am. And I was making the wrong choices. I mean, it took me a little bit, but I finally got back on track, and I'm finally getting my life straight. And I'm still dealing with the problems from Afghanistan, but a lot of things, it's helped me realize that it's made me stronger. I'm the man that I've wanted to become. It's helped me out. But I mean, I'm still suffering through pains with it, but it's helping me in a way. I mean, I don't know if anybody can understand that, but it's like it is making me hurt, but it's also making me tougher and a man that I need to be in my life.
What kind of lessons do you impart to your students when you're teaching them?
That they should, some of the lessons I teach them about what I've gone through is I teach them both sides. I teach them the mistakes, I let them know the mistakes I've made. I let them know what I've been through, because they need to understand that hey, there could be a situation in your life that you might end up having to go through something tough. And you need to, I guess I could say, the best way to put it is, you need to be prepared for it. Because it's just like what I went through. Life could throw you a curveball. It's either it's going to be a hit or miss.